All right. These are some members of the Adult Book Club, the Adult Evening Book Club in Nenagh Library, all right? So what we're going to do is, because we are gradually building up a head of steam for Ireland Reads, we are just talking to some of our members of our Adult Evening Book Club. And I'm going to ask them a couple of questions. Hello, guys. And as you all know, we are going to, for Saturday, the 25th of February, is Squeezing a Read for Ireland Reads Day. So I was just going to ask them favourite books that they've read, books that have stuck with them. Let's see. All right, Alexander. Okay, tell me about one of your favourite books.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
The entire series, yes, it's my favourite book, and the book that got me into reading when I was 11 years old.
Right.
And I still read it almost every year.
Really?
Yes.
You'd go back, it's one of those books
Yes.
you'd go back to, all right? What was the book you told us about tonight? It was a classic that we had never heard of, but it's a classic
That's
of Russian
impossible. It's Master and Margarita, and everyone heard about it.
Except us. That's another recommendation.
Yes.
A retry, Master and Margarita. Okay. All right, Zara, you're up. Let's see. Book that you find hard to forget.
I find hard to forget. I think a book that actually I would find hard to forget is a book that I read recently. It's actually a biography. It's not something I really read often, but it was Rosemary Smith's Driven. I don't know if anyone knows Rosemary Smith. She's a famous Irish rally driver in the 60s. She competed in some of the most hardest endurance rallies in the world, and I always knew growing up that she was famous and she did a lot of stuff, but reading her book, just to do what she did at that time as a woman racing against men, it's really inspirational. Like, she was really good, and I do motorsport as well, so I kind of look up to her even more, and she's an amazing lady, so I find that hard to forget.
Okay, good choice. All right, Tina. How about you? Tina, how did you get your books when you were younger? Tell us about it.
Well, my auntie was married to the county librarian, Dan Canan, and twice a year my auntie Nancy used to come and visit us in Burskane with a chocolate cake, 2 boxes of books for us, or our house in the library. And meanwhile, the library van was restocking the local library in Burskane. We were getting our fix of books and chocolate cake from my auntie Nancy.
And Nancy. Those books were ones that would have been withdrawn, were they?
Yes, yeah, retired library books. So I don't know how they were selected, but they were definitely an eclectic mix. So of them, my favourite were the Bobbsey twins.
Oh yeah.
And Just William.
Just William. Oh yes, one of the classics, the kids' classics. Yep.
And there was a lot of kind of random romances and stuff put in. So we read them. Probably very unsuitable. I think I was reading The Godfather when I was 12 or 13.
Yeah. Didn't do you any harm. Didn't do you any harm. Patricia, any book that stands out with you? Any book, for good or bad?
I think it was a book we read in your book club. It was Milkman, or some other, the other book club I mean. It was Milkman by Anna Burns.
Ah, yes.
And I really enjoyed it. I felt I got into it. I held it. It stayed in my mind, yeah. It's about Northern Ireland and the Troubles and how hard the women, it was such a hard time for women and men, you know. They had to negotiate the whole time. Even if they only went to school or went to the shop, they had to think before they went, how they went, and to go a different way every single time.
Yeah.
So I actually did really like it.
Yeah, serious stuff, but at the same time.
No sentences, no paragraphs or no chapters, you know. But she spoke, I'd say she wrote as people spoke. They were in such a hurry to tell their story, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good choice, definitely. Sinead has come back to our club after a lengthy absence. Not that we're making much about it, but Sinead, go on, tell us.
COVID happened.
COVID happened, all right, but it gets the blame for everything else. It may as well get the blame for you not coming up to the book club for the last year. Come on.
What do you want to tell me?
All right, okay. Let's see. All right, Sinead, recommend to the group a book that you think it would be well worth their while reading.
To read. Well, my favourite book was The Great Alone by Kirsty Ham. just everything about it, about the resilience of the human spirit, how somebody can survive. And I think the thing I loved about the book was the description of the landscape. So it's like you literally I was reading it and I was like, you actually can imagine what it's like to live there. And it was the one time I put down a book and thought, I want to go and live out there. So it's one of those books that, books do that sometimes to you, where they can allow you to transport yourself to somewhere else. Your imagination can go somewhere with it. And that's what I always enjoyed about reading, and that was one of them, that you just could literally be in your imagination of that place. So that would be one that...
What was the one that you said turned you on to reading in the first place? You read it years ago and you said you came back to it.
A book called One True Thing by Anna Quinlan. And it was about a young girl who's in New York and had to give up her career and give up her life to go home to care for her dying mum. So I read that when I was like maybe 20, and that really just hooked me into reading. And then I read it just recently, as in like last month, and so reading it now in a different perspective as a mother myself actually put a whole different perspective on the book, because originally in my 20s I attached to the character of the 20-year-old, whereas now as a mother reading it I attached to the character of the mother and could see where she was coming from.
It was a different read for you.
It was a completely different read, but still just as good. So.
What about you, Rekshma? You're a newcomer to the club, so you're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
All right. What about a book that you would recommend for us to read?
Okay.
Got any ideas?
Although I like to read a lot, but I'm a very slow reader, and I don't usually remember most of the things.
There you are.
Because I read to empty my mind, so nothing to store, so that I don't have to store much in it. And the book which I can remember reading and I can still remember the stories and I can,
Anna Karenina. We had quite the discussion about that tonight.
It's I find it like a tragic romantic story, and so I haven't read it again, and I won't do it. It's not because of the length of the book, because it's so difficult to digest the emotions again.
Yes.
That's a good recommendation if people can't survive the length of the book.
Yes.
Otherwise, I do read series, the two series which I have completely finished one is Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare.
Oh, yes.
I finished the first one. The series, I started the second series, but I'm struggling with it because I think it's like familiarity breeds contempt. I don't like the way she is telling the story, this book, and I think I have been trying to read the first book, Lady Midnight, for last 6 months.
Never a good sign. Never good.
I've seen the ratings and recommendations. People say it's such a great book, and also I'm trying to finish it now.
But it's very subjective, isn't it? What one person loves, another person just won't be able to get. And
then I finished the Harry Potter series, and after finishing the series, I feel like people try to extend the books because they had a commercial success with the first few ones, and they keep on dragging the story. So I would suggest, rather than going for picking a book that is in a series, take a standalone book and read. Sometimes for young adults as well, the standalone, the one-off book is a great book. It's a great idea.
It's a great idea. All right. Okay. Sarah, you were another newcomer here to this book, to this club. All right. So for if you were to squeeze in a read on Saturday, what would you say would be a book for somebody who's not massively into reading, but would just like to commit to some time spent reading, and they want to squeeze in a read on Saturday?
I think I would recommend, I think it's Lucy Foley, The Hunting Lodge. I think for something, it's a murder mystery, but the different spin on it is you don't know who the victim or the murderer is to the very last chapter. So the whole way through, you're trying to figure out not just the murderer, but the victim. So I think that would really hook people in and make them squeeze in a read.
Actually a good one. That's a good one. All right, Alexandra. Okay, Alexandra. Last question. Okay. When you were doing your squeeze in a read, what book did you read that didn't really live up to the hype?
I think that was actually one of our book club books.
Okay,
And
now
that
I'm sorry I asked. Go on, you started so you'll finish.
And that was The Sanatorium.
The Sanatorium, yeah.
I think there was quite a lot of hype around that book, but it was rather disappointing. Yeah, we discussed in the club the characters were not very likable and nobody really cared about them.
Yeah.
Or what happened to the characters in the story, and just the whole thing was not really believable. So I
Yeah.
would say that was the one.
Yeah, and you know what? You're not alone. A lot of people felt that as well, this thing. All right, guys, thank you so much. Okay, we have a small book club meeting tonight, but you know what? Small but quality, I have to say. All right, thank you, guys. Don't forget to squeeze in a read this on Saturday the 25th, okay?